In this lesson, we're going to cover two new properties. Background, which we use to change the background color or the background image of an element, and border. So we're going to start with background. As you can see, I have a little example here. So here's our end result. Notice that we have a gray background on the body coming from here, and then we have a blue background on the div, which is coming from here. And then we also have white text on the paragraph. So let's go ahead and try this using the About Me page that we've been working with. And let's go ahead and change the My Hobbies H4 and give it a background color. Let's give it an orangish color. So again, we want to select this H4. So we type H4. And then inside the curly braces, we're going to say background. And we'll do an RGB. And we'll make like an orangey color. So there'll be a lot of red, a little green, and a little blue. And let's refresh. And we get this nice coral color. So next, let's give the body a background, which is something you'll see often on a website where the entire background is a new color. So let's do something like background, and let's just set that to be pink for now. And there we go. The entire background is pink. So that is the background property being used to change the color of something. But we can also use the background property to change the background to be an image, which you'll also see pretty often. So the way that it works, we still specify background, but instead of a color, we say URL, and then in parentheses, we give it a URL where the image is located. So let's go find some wood grain. Let's find an image. Oh, I like this one here. So let's just copy this image URL, and we're going to set that as the background. So on our body, I'm just going to say background URL and pass in that URL that I just copied. So this will work with any image. And if we refresh, great, we see that our background has been set. But you'll notice one small thing, which is that our image is not really big enough. If we go back to it, it's not close to being big enough to cover our entire body here. So what's happened is that it's being tiled, and you can see, it's being tiled horizontally and vertically. So if we don't want that, and sometimes you do, but most of the time it doesn't look very good. So if we don't want that, there's another property that we can set, and that is background repeat. And if we set this to be no repeat and save, now we've set the background of our body and it's not repeating. But you'll also notice that it's not stretching out to cover the entire body. So if we wanted to get it to stretch out across the entire screen or across the entire body, there's one other property we can set, which is background size. And we can set that to cover. So as you can see, it now takes up the entire body. Of course, it's not the best image for this because it's a little blurry, it's a little pixelated, but when you're doing a background image, you usually want to make sure you have something that is either large and high resolution, or something that is a smaller image that can be repeated seamlessly. Unlike this one, it's not symmetrical on both axes, so if we repeat it, it's very clear that there's divisions and tiling happening. Okay, so that's background, and using background to set a color and background to set a background image. The next thing that I want to show is how we get a border. So I'm actually going to comment this out because it's a little distracting. And let's just go back to background as pink. And let's go and add borders to all H1s. So a border in CSS has three different parts. There's the width, the color, and the style. So let's start by giving a border color to H1s. It just looks like this, border color. And that border, let's just go with purple. And if we refresh, we don't actually see anything. And that's because currently our border has no width. So the next thing we need to do is give it a width. So border width, and we'll just give it a number in pixels. Let's do 5 pixels, 5px, refresh. And we're still missing one thing, which is style. So you'll see that none of this works unless we have all 3 of them set. So the border style, there's a few different options. We can say solid, a dashed, a dotted border. There's a few others. Most of the time, what you see is just solid. So solid border, 5 pixels, purple. And we get a border around all the H1s. There is a nice shortcut syntax that we can use. So because we often set all 3 of these at once, there's the equivalent syntax that's just called border. And we write border, colon, we give it the width, 5 pixels, the style, solid, and the color, purple. So I can actually comment these out, and you'll see nothing changes. It's identical. So let's play around a bit. Let's go with a 8 pixel dashed border that is, let's just take our RGB from down here. And we get this nice dashed border effect. So, usually I haven't seen this. I haven't seen this since websites back in the 90s, using this all the time, different border styles. Usually all you see is a nice thin, 1 or 2 pixel solid border. Okay, so just to recap on border, we can set properties individually, or we can use the shortcut syntax and set the width, the style, and the color all in one go.